Hey guys, it's me, Michael. I just have the day off here and just kind of had a motivation just to kind of make a random video. I've made some videos kind of based upon some relationship aspects and also kind of having to do with narcissistic relationships. I love thinking deeply, and it's really a great privilege to be able to share my thoughts. And I got a lot of history and I've been through a lot of things. And this video, I wanted to change it up a bit, and I wanted to share something that's extremely personal, but I think it's going to be very helpful to a lot of people. And it has to do with DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, and just kind of how I went from fairly normal living to kind of a gradual path down the road of self-discovery and a lot of revelation and thank goodness personal healing that went along with it. And it's tied heavily into spiritual aspects. And I'm a Christian, so a lot of it's going to be tied in kind of with my developing Christian beliefs. And so I'm about 32 right now, and about 8 years ago, it all kind of got interesting. There's a concept in Christianity to where there's I would guess you would call it a ministry, where they call it a deliverance ministry. At the time, I didn't know about it, and I was good friends with this buddy, and he had apparently gone to one of these sessions, and so I went over to his house, and he wanted to tell me all about it, and I was just casually interested. Always good to hear from my buddy. And he was describing things that I've never really comprehended in depth on a personal, relatable level. And he was describing things about how there's demons controlling our lives, and we needed to use the power that we have in Jesus to get delivered from them. And there's tons of different in Catholicism and Christianity, and I'm sure a bunch of different areas where they do this, different forms of deliverance. And the way he was describing it is that it's not like, there's a demon who possesses you and it's like this freaky possession thing. It's more of in our physical and spiritual reality, in this unseen spiritual realm, there's a lot of invisible dynamics that we're not necessarily aware of until we learn about them. And through knowing about it, then we can kind of learn how to identify different phenomenon in our life, and then we can kind of track and map what's going on to build a better understanding of what it really is like to have a physical body and a spiritual body, and everything that's going on seemingly behind the scenes in the spiritual realm. And so anyways, so he was describing a lot of this to me, and I was like, what? No, totally, man. Like, that's so happening to me, man. I need to go to one of these. And I was just totally on board. It's a lot of us, we can kind of feel, we feel a lot of kind of unknown dark tensions that are going on behind the scenes, but we can't quite figure out what's going on. But we really want to figure it out, because we all want to live happy lives, and hopefully be able to build beautiful families and just have a awesome adventure-filled life. And so a lot of us feel just super tied down and you know vulnerable to all these forces that kind of hold us back, and we're just aware of but unaware of what they are. And so he gives me can't remember exactly, but eventually through some contacts, I was able to arrange with someone to set up one of these meetings. This is all back in Oregon, and so the meeting was 3 hours away at this guy's house. He does these sessions for free. It's like a sit down for a couple hours deliverance session. So to me, I'm just going in there with just a optimistic kind of blank mindset, with carrying a few vague details from that conversation with my friend into it, thinking like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome, because he had described various like sensations and feelings of freedom that he got when he went to the session. And he even described to me that it might even be hard to eventually get myself to go, because the demons would try to kind of inspire some sort of resistance in various ways to make it hard for me to actually go, so that I would learn about these things and the true freedom that we have, the true authority that we have that can set us free. So we can be free, but we're not necessarily free. But the way the spiritual realm works is, now I know it's extremely complicated. But so anyways, so I'm driving up 3 hours. Was super excited to go. Get pulled over for speeding. Tried to be really nice and respectful for the officer and kept on driving. And then there's a bunch of snow over there, and real deep snow. Like I had to drive over a mountain to get to this place on the other side of the mountain. Had to pull off on the side of the road, figure out my chains. My chains started falling off, whipping around, smashing up my truck. I was like, I don't care what tries to hold me back. I'm just gonna keep driving. And so I was super tense the whole time because my truck was sliding around. I had a rear wheel drive, no weight in the back Ford Ranger, and but thank goodness finally made it out of the snow over to this guy's house. Knocked on the door, shook his hand, and so we kind of went up into his little office area, and they have kind of a script that they go through, like a piece of paper with a lot of bullet points for the meeting that you're going to have with them. And it was really interesting. It was a little bit awkward, because the way this ministry does it is they do, from what I can remember, is 8 years ago, they do set up prayer, prayer for protection, that the meeting would kind of be undisturbed from whatever spiritual forces might try to be tampering with your time with each other and with God. And then they do this technique. I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of it, because it kind of weirds me out. But they, and don't get weirded out, even though I was weirded out, they actually have you in the spirit. They'll say, go back with the Lord, and then they'll have you ask God to express through you, like, oh, what percent are you back with the Lord? And pretty much it's just like taking your spirit to go be with God. And then once you're kind of back with God and kind of out of the way, then they actually will address. So apparently in the spiritual realm and with demons and stuff, there's a whole hierarchy of different entities and principalities. And so they basically talk to the demon through you, and whatever you kind of hear in your head is just what you're supposed to say. And it was it was so weird, but it once I kind of became attuned to, like, with what was going on, and I just developed kind of the bravery just to say whatever was going on in my head, it kind of actually became a little bit more fluid, and the guy was able to facilitate the conversation a little bit. And so the technique is basically trying to find out what the strategy of these dark forces were in messing with your life, and that kind of sets up a template of ways to pray with God afterwards to address all these things that they were doing things to you to try to mold you in the way that the devil wants you to be versus the way God wants you to be. And so I can't remember all the questions that they asked, but it was something along the lines like, you know, what's your assignment with Michael? And, you know, I can make something up. I can't remember, you know, what I was saying, but, you know, maybe they would say, oh, to turn him into a dark agent for Satan or something, you know. Most of the answers I feel like were pretty, like, dark and kind of prestigious sounding. And that was my roommate. Is just waving to him. Anyways, and I remember one of the questions they like said through me that they were actually scared of me, and that was really weird because that was nothing I would ever say. And so in the moment and trying to adjust to all this weird spiritual newness, and I was just like optimistically, happily going on for the ride, because in my mind there was just a whole frontier of spiritual phenomenon that I kind of felt, and I just really knew, I just really wanted to just figure it all out. Anyways, so I'm trying to get over this part because it's pretty weird, but it was eventually we went through all that process of stuff, and then we'd pray with God, and then you kind of do the same thing, go back with God again, but instead of them trying to, you know, harass information out of demons and then tell them to leave in Jesus' name. You would ask the Holy Spirit to kind of reveal answers like, what is his vision for your life, and what's your destiny and calling, and what does God want you to know right now for what you have in your future. And anyways, so got through that part, and then the end thing was like one final, like, you know, cast all these demons out and everything. And I was actually caught by surprise as soon as the prayer ended. I felt like this super stillness, like, and I told the guy it was like the equivalent of like my mind, without knowing, because it was always like this, my mind was like a really stormy ocean, but you're so used to it, so you don't even comprehend any contrast. But all of a sudden it felt like my mind was just like a mirror still lake of like peace. And so I thought that was super cool. I felt like, something definitely worked, even though I wasn't sure exactly all the details of the practice. And went on my way. And he didn't charge or anything. He did it for free. And so I was driving home, and got really I think I got some sort of food poisoning on my way home. And so I texted I can't remember if I texted I think I texted my buddy, and he's like, oh, it's probably just like some kind of spiritual retaliation or something. So I was like, oh. And then so I made it home, and so I was kind of expecting just like to have like this nice clean slate of just a real clean feeling atmosphere. The flowers are finally gonna bloom in life or something. But there was still a lot of distinct mental turmoil that was going on. And I was telling my buddy about it, and because one of the things that was just really difficult to deal with was whenever I'd try to imagine or pray to Jesus, I would just get like, when I try to like visualize him, all I would see was like just inappropriate, like just unhealthy, like mentally disturbing things every time I try to pray for him. And so when I reached out to him, it was like it just almost made it felt like it was like I was getting punished for trying to pray to Jesus. And so he was like, oh well, let me give you this phone number for this person for they called it aftercare. So it's a follow-up prayer, to where you could I guess kind of say with the same mindset you could kind of address some of these things that were still happening, and maybe kind of tie off any loose ends that weren't taken care of in the earlier session. And so there's actually a lady I was talking to this time, and I was telling her everything that was going on. There's more than just those prayer disturbances. There's a lot of different uncomfortable things going on. And so eventually she from now I can tell you that she herself was also a survivor of different aspects of what happens when you have DID. And so she was able to kind of recognize some of the same things in me. So without telling me anything, she recommended me to talk to this full-time person who treats people with DID. And so that conversation ended. It was really nice because me and this lady ended up staying in touch for quite a few years through my process, and she was able to help a lot. Her help saved my life. And so kind of disappointed that it wasn't as black and white and cut and dry as I was pretty much hoping and was somewhat even led to believe it was going to be like. So I got in touch with this lady. So it's her full-time ministry. So she pays the bills by being 100% available. So a session does cost money with her. And so my first session, before I even had any sessions, I called her up, and she's a Christian lady, and I remember kind of telling her what was going on and everything. And then one of her responses was, She felt like God had said that there is things in my life that I'm not fully aware of. And so she invited me to come and join some sessions, or at least for one session. And then in my first session, she explained to me how the treatment is long term. And at this point, she didn't explain anything to me. I never heard of DID before. And in the session, it was again kind of a spiritual, like, prayer session, to where, you know, we kind of asked God to reveal things, and then if she sensed something in the spirit, we could address it. And a lot of it, having basically no experience in any of it, and how sophisticated some of the terms can be, and the naming of different hierarchies of satanic forces and names and stuff, is like, it kind of felt like I was in like a sci-fi movie, but in prayer. It was that different. And oh, and before starting these two, like, I remember not even calling her for a while, because I was like, do I really need this? Is this where I want to go? Like, and then it's just something in me was like, yeah, there's something I still need to deal with, something's still not right, let's get this figured out. So anyways, back to the first session. For example, a template of some of the prayers can be, and there's just thick books of different ways to address different spiritual phenomena, different, like, entities and powers and principalities and all these kinds of things. But for example, there's an entity that's titled Mithras, and I had described to her, whenever I prayed to Jesus, I'd just see things that just be disturbing and make it really hard to focus and pray. And so apparently this entity Mithras poses as Jesus in the spirit. And so sometimes, I guess in a way you could say, your attention is getting intercepted by this spirit posing as Jesus, and so you kind of get sidetracked from wholesomely connecting to the true God. However those avenues work in the spirit of alignment and connection and everything. And so with Mithraism, there's a whole history of it. There's statues in different places of Mithras, and there's a whole list of things to renounce, which I can't remember. So that was kind of my first experience with that. And I think I just remember kind of just being in awe of the first session, and then wrapped it up and left. And I think I remember feeling a little bit better. Like, this costs money. It's weird. I don't know exactly what to and what not to believe in, but I feel healthier. And so I ended up going back a few times. And in the course, and this lady also specifically treats people with DID, but she's very careful not to implant any ideas. And so she kind of lets your concepts grow a little bit more organically and naturally. So you're kind of the one able to identify and claim different things, versus just kind of being indoctrinated and being told what's going on. So a lot of respect for that. That must take a lot of self-discipline and true like love and respect for the person, not to just want to just download all your knowledge on them and then kind of lead them down maybe a similar path that they had in healing, to try to put you on the accelerated path versus truly letting you with your free will and own mind come to terms with a lot of these concepts, so you're kind of the one deciding that you want to keep taking more steps in a certain direction for more healing. And so after a few sessions, I kind of got a little bit more sensitive and more attuned again in the spirit, and so I was kind of able to visualize different things going on. And one of the things that happened in one of the early sessions, and I was with this lady for about 5 years, maybe going to a session once a month, maybe twice a month, if I had enough financing and everything. I was working kind of a minimum wage retail job at the time, so I didn't have a whole lot. But I understood the concept of if someone is 100% available and no one's giving them $1 million to be able to do it for free, their availability is gonna require some investment. So anyways, down the road, there was a session I remember to where, and I think this is actually after she explained DID to me. So the first time she ever kind of explained DID to me, I was just mind blown in disbelief. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you kind of have a background on what DID is, because it's such a complicated subject to give all the details about, and kind of this origin story. But maybe I'll cover that in another video if you wanted to kind of grasp the ABC basics of DID. But so anyways, she explained that there can be trauma when you're young. Your brain can't handle that trauma, and so it sections off those memories into another part of you. It doesn't go away, and it's not just memories. There's still kind of a part of you attached to that. So there's still humanity within those memories, and that humanity can still kind of grow and function despite your main persona and your main personality. And there's an amnesic barrier, of course, because your brain's prioritizing your ability to thrive. And then once you find the tools to deal with this trauma, so that you can whatever mindset or things that you need to heal from whatever is going on, your brain's going to keep that amnesic barrier there. And so basically what I walked away from that with was that there was a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. There was the potential that I had a bunch of different personalities that I was unaware of, that my body had the ability to switch to, and it would be me, just a different me with different memories and a different life experience and different perceptions. And so it'd be me, just a different me. Yeah. So at this point, and I have a lot more eloquent way of stating everything now. If I was going to just explain it to you, ABC, what's going on. But I just, it's kind of enjoyable just to express what my mindset was like as I was going through it back then, because it really was just a path of bewilderment, but feeling feeling healthier and healthier, and so just continuing going down this road of trying to figure all this out. So anyways, back to my original point. So the background was I already had briefly learned about DID, and I already had kind of known that there's different personalities that can live in your subconscious. And so a lot of the prayer time is identifying what's going on with those personalities, and what kind of identity they have adopted from the trauma that they've gone through. And then this is where the real hard stuff they deal with came in. Is there's actual groups that intentionally create DID in people. To using DID as a form of mind control, and a lot of it's been around for quite a few years now. There's a whole history on it you can look up, and a lot of the groups, there's, a lot of it's just really satanic, and there's rituals and stuff that can, and this is not the same for everyone, of course. It's just you either been through it or you haven't, and DID can be with anyone, and so it's not an indicator at all that you've been through these other things. But if it was, you can look up like MK Ultra too. It's all kind of the same concept. So a part of the healing in the session template was you would just kind of search your mind and try to identify these personalities that would at least be willing to kind of show themselves somewhat. And all this time I'm still kind of questioning it, but this is one of the key kind of stepping stones to where it started holding a bit more validity. And I told her I was describing something that I was seeing about one of my alters or parts looked like. That's one of the terms in a professional setting you'll use to describe what's going on with the different parts, the fragments of your mind. And I told her I was seeing, I was seeing myself, but I saw like really big, like deer antlers coming out of my head. and you can't make this stuff up. Like it's just so unique. And I was also wearing a green robe, and on the back of the robe there was a white pentagram on it. And never seen it before. I was literally just describing her exactly what I was seeing, and she was like, huh. And so she took a moment and she got this book out, and she of course recognized what I was telling her. And so she's pulling this book out and she's like, is this it? And then what do you know, it's a book about Druidism, and the Druid priests would, for rituals, they'd have antler setups in a green robe. And I can't remember if that green robe had a white pentagram on the back in that picture or not. I think it did, because I think I remember it being like exact. And I was like, oh, okay. So there was no power of suggestion anywhere getting near to those details and describing what I had just seen in my head. And so, okay, this is real. I'm not just making stuff up. And so like in an occult ritual, when you're a kid, say there's Druidism is a part of that occult, and they want to train one of your personalities to become Druid oriented. Maybe, for example, they dress you up like a druid priest, and that fragment of your personality would kind of adopt that identity, and then that's how that identity lives in your head and functions as whatever they taught it to be. And so after that, I developed a lot more confidence in kind of using what I was seeing in my head as a navigation tool for trying to figure a lot of the things out and help facilitate the prayer meetings to what we could kind of target our prayers on. So that was probably all in the first year of those meetings, and then it gradually progressed, and pretty much every meeting was seeing something new and crazy, or hearing about some sort of spiritual phenomenon or aspect of reality that I just never heard of, different laws of the spirits that different entities operate by and we abide by. That's another really long conversation. Somebody counts how many ums I say in this video and post it in the comments. That'd be fascinating. Maybe I can slowly work on whittling my ums out of my videos. But they're not going to stop. It's involuntary. So, yeah. So lots of... I think right about the end of that year, there's just, and I kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to, I had California in my mind, that I wanted to move there. And because if there's groups around me that did this to me when I was younger, it didn't seem very appealing that I would want to stay and potentially keep myself in harm's way to where any part of these personalities might be getting accessed or influenced. And so I kind of had California in my mind. I was actually working at Costco at the time. Awesome company to work for. I was working at the gas pumps, so got to have nice outside time. Anyways, so one morning I remember waking up, and there was just a booming sense of urgency that was so imminent, overpowering, that I needed to move that morning. And it was like God was providing me with the grace and bravery that I needed that day and that morning. And that was a fork in the road, to where if I was going to really start, if I was going to try to, do this healing on my own, or if I was really going to try to allow, God to intervene. And because true healing, it isn't just escaping the trauma necessarily, but it's in becoming the beautiful person who you're meant to be. And so we can escape trauma and hardship to an extent, but God's still there, and we still need to believe in the gospel. And so true healing is becoming everything we're supposed to be. And so I knew that I was just gonna have to learn to just stop trying to make sense of things so much, and just really learn to just follow God. And so I had the courtesy to at least call in sick, and I packed up everything. I went to the apartment office where I was renting a room from, with a bunch of roommates. I got the paperwork filled out so far as I could, trying to be nice to my roommates. None of my roommates were there at the time, because I kind of just wanted to ghost out of there. And so called in sick, left the paperwork there for my roommates to finish filling out to get me off the lease. And boom, I was gone, headed for California that morning. And I felt I didn't have, I can't remember. I think I must have had like $800 maybe. No plan whatsoever. I was total, just total getting out of there, because I was still having a really hard time in that first year, because there's a lot of the programming, they call it, with the mind control. There's a lot of aspects of it that fight back against you getting healing from it, and it makes it can be a really, really hard time, because you're dealing with a lot of internal pressures that are specifically catered to getting you to stop getting healing, so that you can go back into being overpowered and bullied by these unfair, hurtful forces, back into just being controlled and being a puppet for the demonic forces, versus your own free will and being empowered by God to do things that are good. And so it's a really long story. I've since then I've traveled California, Oregon to California to Maryland, Virginia, Florida, then a really long road trip everywhere, back to Oregon, to California, to Texas, to Minnesota, to Oregon, to Minnesota, to Florida, to it just goes on. And so I've worked a ton of different jobs everywhere. I've gotten to meet so many people, and I've gotten to see so much, and everything's a lot more calmer and nicer now. I still have a session every once in a while with an associate of that original person, and that helps a lot, because sometimes there's just things going on that I don't quite understand that I need help with. And through a lot of the sessions with these professional DID, SRA. SRA stands for Satanic Ritual Abuse. So these DID, SRA counselors, you can learn a lot, and you can learn how to do a lot of this stuff yourself through understanding the spiritual principles, and how a lot of things are tied into your repentance, paralleling with you using Jesus' name to cast things out once they lose the ability to affect you, because you've repented. And so that kind of closes a legal right for them to affect you in certain ways. But sometimes it still gets overwhelming. So this video is, I know there's a lot of people, who have DID, and a lot of people who even have been exposed to the idea that they might have been ritually abused, and it can be a desperate time for a lot of people, especially just trying to get basic information on what's going on. Where's all the real help, and what do I got to do to keep getting through this? So I might keep making videos, maybe on different topics and concepts about this, to try and help out some of those people. I probably won't get into a lot of the super complicated things yet, but if you've listened this far, I hope some of this has helped. I know a lot of the hearing origin stories can kind of, you can kind of compare to them, and try to develop some sense of familiarity with your own circumstance, so you can try to figure out in yourself what's really fact, what's fiction, what's really happening, or what maybe is in your head. It's a really sensitive issue, because the whole idea, the concept of DID can be just very confusing, because we're dealing with the realm of not just spiritual, but everything in our brain too. And there's a lot going on up there, and there's a lot of connections that need to be made to kind of create a framework of understanding. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Probably maybe make one more today. I'm just sitting in my truck here, just so I got a bunch of roommates, so I'm just trying to have some quiet me time so I can focus. Hope you guys didn't get too weirded out with any of the details. I didn't go into a lot of the background explanation and how that ties into the Bible, and giving it a lot of kind of a biblical background, I guess, which would create a lot of reference points and a bit more credibility for trying to understand for yourself what I'm getting at. But thank you for listening, and God bless you. If you're new to DID, SRA, anything even remotely related to it, I gotta say, I kept choosing life. I kept choosing to move forward the best I could, even though it can get really hard. And I'm at a point to where it's a lot better. And mainly is because I kept following God, and He kept leading me into different circumstances that would keep me in that fresh pace of healing. So if you hear God telling you that you need to prepare for something, or if He's telling you you need to move or anything, you got to stay in the environment in that God wants you to be in, to be able to keep receiving His healing. So anyways, see if this uploads with my internet, and I'll talk to you guys later.